Morning, everyone. So today we are going to continue to see the prehistoric and the ancient Mediterranean worlds. So last class, we learned Mesopotamia and Egypt, right? So today we are going to see Greece and Rome, the ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Excuse me. So let's see the ancient Mediterranean world's timeline again. So in Mesopotamia, we saw a city-state by Sumerian, and the first empire by Akkadians, and the second empire by Babylonian, and the third empire by Assyrian, and the last empire by Neo-Babylonian. And we learned Egypt. So today we're gonna learn the ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, and the Rome. Let's see the Greece first. So the Greece comes from Aegean culture. The artistic cultures of the Aegean parallel in the time those of Egypt and Mesopotamia, about 3000 BCE. And the last period of the Greece is called Hellenism. And Rome is here. So Rome began before the century and continued to the 4th century. So now let's briefly see the Aegean culture first before the Greece. So the Greek culture arose on the lands bordering sea, the Aegean. So here, this is the Aegean Sea. So there are 3 Aegean major cultures: Cycladic, the Minoan, and the Mycenaean. So the Cycladic is centered here on a group of small islands in the Aegean. See here. And Cycladic art is a puzzle because we know almost nothing about the people who made it. And it consists almost exclusively of nude female figures. And the Minoan art. The Minoan culture is based on the island of Crete. This is it, at the southern end of the Aegean Sea. So the centered on the great city. Let me change the point, later point here. So the centered on the great city of Knossos, Minoan culture can be traced to about 3000 BCE. And we take the name from a legendary king called Minos, and who supposedly ruled at Knossos. And the palace at Knossos features post and lintel construction with painted columns like this, and topped by pillow-like capital. The last one, Mycenaean culture. So Mycenaean culture, so-called because it formed around the city of here, Mycenae, flourished on the south coast of the Greek mainland. So Mycenaeans built palaces and temples, but they are also noted for their elaborate burial costume and tombs like Egyptians. Burial places in and around Mycenae have yielded large quantities of exquisite gold object like this, such as a rhyton. This is it. So in the shape of a lion's head. So based on the three Aegean major cultures we just saw, the Cycladic, the Minoan, and the Mycenaean, Greek art arose. And Rome followed Greek art. So the word classical refers to two cultures, Greece and Rome. And it aesthetically indicates artwork of the highest quality and standards. So Greek philosophers were the first to speculate on the nature and the purpose of art. Sculpture, painting, and architecture were discussed as technique, in our words, technology and technique. So technique is things requiring a special body of knowledge and skill to make. So there are three artistic periods in Greek art. First is the archaic period, and the next period is classical period. And the last period is Hellenistic period. So let's see the archaic period first. This is called crater. Crater is one of many standard Greek pottery shapes in archaic period. And a crater was a vessel used for wine. And this is Kouros. Greek statue depicts an anonymous boy in archaic period, and thousands of such figures were carved, all of them in the same pose like this, and all nude, all young and idealized, with broad shoulder, slim waist, and bodies. And Greek female statue is called core. And the painting technique on the pottery is called red figure style during the archaic period. So the ground is painted black, and while figures are left mostly unpainted like this, with only thin black lines to describe the forms. And the red that result is the natural color of fired earth. So earlier archaic pottery has employed the reverse color scheme with black figures painted on a red ground. So now we see the classical period of Greece. The classical period dates from 480 to the 323 BCE, and it is considered to be the height of Greek art. So the Greek invented contrapposto, the contrapposto pose of sculpture, to express the potential for motion inherent in a standing human. Bronze was the favored material for freestanding sculpture in ancient Greece. So everyone look at this. Let's compare these two styles of Greek sculpture, archaic sculpture versus classical sculpture. We can clearly see the differences between these two sculptures. What's the difference, everyone? Can you find the differences between these two sculptures?
I see that well, the colors are different.
Oh yes, definitely, because the materials are different. So this is a marble. This is a bronze. Yes, the color is absolutely different. How about the
One,
pose? Hmm?
yeah, I was gonna say the pose is different, and one is like more muscular than the other.
Yes, very good. So the classical pose looks natural, right? Very good.
Mm-hmm.
How about the details?
One seems like a little smoother than the other.
Yep, yep. So the archaic sculpture shows just, simple and knitted sculpture, but on the other hand, this classical contrapposto sculpture shows detail, muscle and the skin's texture and the hair and the details, the face, eyes and nose and mouth. So,
Is it classical made out of metal?
yes, it's the middle. Yes. So again, the left one is archaic Corot sculpture, and it was amazing achievement to create the freestanding human sculpture at that time, actually. But despite of the great process, now it still looks unnatural and less detailed. And the movement is very limited. We can find the movement only on the now the right, the left foot. However, the classical contrapposto sculpture shows incredibly natural movement and it has lots of details, very realistic. And we can tell this is the height of Greek art because they finally mastered to create natural shapes of body. So although all ancient Greek and Rome art is broadly known as classical, the art produced during classical period was considered by later European scholars to be the finest of the finest. So Athens was the cultural and artistic center at this time. So Athens, which was the um, um, chief of the city states, this is it, had been built around the hill, high hill Acropolis. So this is Parthenon at Acropolis. Greeks dedicated to the goddess Athena Parthenos or Athena the warrior maiden. The Parthenon is a Doric style temple with columns all around the external and an inner wall of columns on each of the short walls. So let's see the Doric style in detail. This is a Doric style column that the Parthenon has. And Doric style column is simple and classical compared to the other column styles such as Ionic and Corinthian. So when you see this Doric style, can you find the feature of the Doric styles column compared to the other columns? What's the difference? No difference?
different between the three pillars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Base is different.
Yes. The decoration is
I think
different.
And the
the
decoration.
bottom
The bottom. Uh-huh.
and the top part of it, it looks like this is
Oh yeah. Yes. So the Doric style's columns are
Only two things I like make my mouth feel clean too.
mm-hmm.
Well, I got some more.
So this column, the Doric style's column, is not straight.
This thing
No,
you had on was so tight around my leg. I
like
had to take
this,
them off. So what? This part.
like this. It's not straight at all. So the thickness between the bottom part and the top part is not same. So the Doric, however, the tall columns may appear to bend inward at the center. This, they look absolutely straight from the viewer's eyes. So this is called antithesis. The architects of the classical Greek art calculated the relative errors by the viewers and applied it to the temple. So this is amazing because they did it 2,500 years ago. And the last period of Greek art is called Hellenistic. And it begins about 323 BCE. And this style emphasizes balance and restraint while also favoring dynamic poses and extreme emotion. So let's see how they look like. So this is it. Sculpture of this era poses with theatrical quality and complex poses like this. So there is a video about Hellenistic art in the Moodle room. So please watch it to see more beautiful Hellenistic art. So now we can recognize the different styles of the Greek art period by the Greek art periods. So the archaic period shows limitation of the movement since the lack of sculptural technique. And the classic period shows the complete technique to create natural and classic freestanding sculpture. And the Hellenistic period shows emotions and dynamic movement beyond the classic. So please understand the differences by the Greek time periods. So now let's move on to the ancient Rome. The Roman era begins about 510 BCE, and it overlaps the Greek era. The Romans admired Greek art and copied many of their works. So the most of Hellenistic sculptures we see are not original. The most of the original Hellenistic Greek sculptures were destroyed by the church during the Middle Age. So the most of the sophisticated Greek sculptures we are able to see are made by Romans. So we just saw this Hellenistic sculptures by the Greek. So these are all the copied works by Romans. So Roman art tends toward realism. So as you see on the left wall painting, all the figures look very natural and realistic. And the Romans were best known for their architecture and engineering. So their most famous monument is the Colosseum. So this is the Colosseum. And the Colosseum covers over 6 acres, and it has 80 arched entries and exits. And it accommodated over 50,000 people. So this is the inside. It is truly a symbol of Rome. All right, so that's it for this chapter, the prehistory and the ancient Mediterranean world. So I hope you enjoyed to see all the ancient arts through this chapter. And now let's see today's discussion. So this is today's discussion. So please discuss the architecture of the ancient Greeks and Romans. What advancements did each culture make in buildings, and why are these works still considered such marvels today? So please reply to this discussion topic by tonight, and by tomorrow, please reply to your peers. Any questions?